For a long time, the world of business pretty much followed one simple rule: make it cheaper, faster, and more efficient. And it didn't matter where on the planet you had to go to get that done. But that world? It's changing, and it's changing fast. We're talking about a massive, multi-billion-dollar reshuffle of global trade that's happening right now.
So, that brings us to the big question, right? Why are companies all of a sudden spending billions upon billions of dollars to completely redraw the global business map? What's making them so desperate to bring everything back home, or at least a lot closer to it? Let's dig in.
For decades, this is what the global economic looked like: an unbelievably complex, tangled web of suppliers, factories, and ships all working together. And this system was a masterpiece of optimization, built to do one thing and one thing only: cut costs and be as efficient as possible. But as we all found out the hard way, when you build something just for efficiency, there's a catch. It's fragile. Super fragile. The very same complexity that made everything so cheap also meant that if one little link in the chain broke, the whole thing could come crashing down. And boy, did the shocks come. One right after the other. All of a sudden, you couldn't get computer chips. We all had this collective realization like, whoa, we get almost everything from just one or two places. And then you layer on cyber attacks hitting shipping companies, and governments suddenly changing trade rules and slapping on tariffs. It was just chaos.
So, what's really behind all this? Is it just a string of bad luck? Not really. The real engine driving this change is a massive shift in geopolitics. That stable, predictable world that businesses had relied on for years, it's been completely flipped on its head. We're in a whole new ballgame now. You've got tariffs and trade barriers popping up everywhere, messing with long-established shipping routes. You have conflicts flaring up that make entire regions unstable. And maybe most important of all, governments are now saying, you know what? Our own national security is more important than pure global efficiency.
And this recent quote from the consulting firm Baker McKenzie just nails it. They said, supply chains are being redrawn around friendshoring principles. And really, that's just a way of saying it's not about who's cheapest anymore, it's about who you can trust.
This means you can pretty much take the entire playbook for how to run a global business and just toss it out the window. That relentless focus on cutting costs, the one thing that drove corporate strategy for a whole generation,
well, it's been replaced. The new #1 priority in boardrooms everywhere is something called strategic de-risking. It's all about making your business more resilient, more predictable, and more secure, so it can actually survive a crisis.
So if de-risking is the goal, how are companies actually pulling it off? I mean, you can't just flip a switch and move a giant global supply chain. The answer, more and more, is mergers and acquisitions, M&A. Companies are literally buying their way to a safer future.
They're doing this using a few key strategies. First up is reshoring. The idea here is pretty straightforward. You just move your production from a foreign country all the way back to your home country.
Next, you've got nearshoring. This is sort of a middle ground approach. Instead of bringing operations all the way home, you move them to a nearby country. It makes logistics way simpler, you're in a similar time zone, it just makes life easier. And finally, there's friendshoring. This one is the most political of the bunch. It's all about moving your supply chains to countries that you see as stable, reliable allies. It's a conscious choice to do business with your friends, even if it might cost a bit more.
Now just think about it. To build a new factory from scratch takes years. Finding a whole new network of suppliers takes even longer. So what's the ultimate shortcut? M&A. The fastest way to do any of this is to just buy a company that already has the factories, the people, and the setup you need, right where you need it.
All right, so this all sounds good in theory, but where is it actually playing out? Which industries and which parts of the world are right in the middle of this M&A frenzy? Let's follow the money. What's really fascinating here is the big comeback for domestic manufacturing. It's become a huge target. Companies are just snapping up other businesses that have advanced, automated factories and local production already in place. It's the quickest way to build that resilience right at home.
And we're seeing this happen across some really critical sectors. There's a huge surge of deals for companies that deal with materials for batteries, like rare earths, of course, semiconductors and AI, defense tech is another big one. Even the software that helps manage these complicated supply chains is a hot commodity, along with anything related to the energy transition.
As companies try to avoid putting all their eggs in one basket, a really clear strategy is popping up. It's being called China Plus One. The idea is simple. Keep some business in China, but make sure you have a strong second option, a plus one in another country.
And being that plus one is creating a massive opportunity for other countries. This quote from an expert at Baker Tilly, India, really says it all. People looking at India from a China plus one perspective. So yeah, India is becoming a huge winner in this global reshuffle.
And it's definitely not just India. You can see where the strategic money is flowing. A lot of it is staying right in North America and Europe for those reshoring deals. But for new growth, investors are pouring cash into India, other parts of Southeast Asia, and even places like Brazil.
So when you put all these pieces together, it's really clear. We are not just talking about some temporary trend. This is a fundamental, deep-seated rewriting of the entire global corporate playbook. And the change is just night and day when you look at it side by side. The old playbook was basically a giant bet that the world would stay stable and predictable. Well, that bet lost, big time. The new playbook isn't a gamble at all. It's an insurance policy. It's about paying a little more today for the certainty that your business will still be standing tomorrow. So, the key takeaway here is that M&A has totally evolved. It's not just a tool for growth or for entering a new market anymore. It has become an absolutely essential strategic tool for plain old survival, for building the kind of company that can handle this volatile new world.
And all this leaves us with one last, massive question to think about. As companies spend all these billions to build these safer, more regional, more politically friendly supply chains, what does this new, more fragmented world actually mean for the future of globalization as we've known it?